Hello, everyone. Welcome. Thanks very much for giving us some of your time this morning or this afternoon, wherever you're based in Europe. It's great to have you. So to introduce your presenters today, if you haven't met us, hello, it's great to meet you. For those that have met us, hello again. So my name's Jack. I head up sales for Europe, Middle East and Africa at Servicely, and I have a very modest task today, given this is a technical preview where I will welcome you all. I'll run through the agenda very quickly, and then I'll pass over to the star of our show and resident wizard, Jens Helstrup, who's going to be talking to you about all things Agentic AI. And if you know Servicely, we don't like to just keep it fluff and the art of the possible. We've got some really cool live examples for you as well today. So just to kick off with the agenda, we felt it would be remiss of us not to at least start with 5 or so minutes on the million-dollar question of what is Agentic AI. It's very difficult to keep track of, right? AI is the buzzword of the decade. First, it was predictive with machine learning, pattern matching. Then suddenly we're on to generative AI. And then before we've even got hang of ChatGPT and things like that, we're on to Agentic AI. So we'll cover what are AI agents and specifically how do they apply to IT service management in this context. Like I said, we're not just going to do fluff. We're going to show some real examples. So then we'll show some introductory examples of how can you use Agentic AI to retrieve information, to summarize information, and then start to do tasks for us, whether that's in a platform like Servicely or in other platforms. And then finally, we'll move on to kind of what comes next. What's the nirvana, right? It's how can we use Agentic AI to create assistance? Okay, so how can this become self-sufficient, as it were, and really empower agents to do more using AI? But just before I hand it over to Jens, we will do a bit of housekeeping. Of course, much of what you see today will be in the platform very soon in our upcoming August-September release. However, please take everything with a bit of a pinch of salt. This is a technical preview. Things are subject to change. And of course, by nature of this being a tech preview, we're going to dive straight into the technology and the positioning. If there are questions on who are Servicely, what do we do, please, we're more than happy to have a conversation after this and share more about who we're working with, the sort of outcomes that they're achieving, so on and so forth. So without further ado, I'll pass you over to Jens.
Thank you very much. Can you hear me all right? Just checking before I start talking.
Yep.
Excellent. So AI agents and Agentic AI, what does that mean and what type of impact would that have on enterprise and IT service management? Well, that's kind of what we just want to touch on just before we go on to showing you the real stuff. So Agentic AI and service management, from our perspective, it's very much about being proactive, right? So understanding the data that we have in the system, understanding patterns, anticipate what happens next, and really do that in a dynamic context, right? So the IT landscape is constantly changing. And what we want to make sure here is that we continuously learn from that change and really start to improve and independently start breaking down the individual tasks that needs to be carried out as a result of that change. So really that's what we're trying to show you today. But just to give you some kind of background in terms of what happens in a platform like Servicely when we talk about Agentic AI and what are the different terminology aspects that we need to understand as well. We'll just have a quick look at the Agentic stack. So what you'll see is, and this will become evident as soon as I start sharing my browser, there is a part of this which is all about having a conversation with the system, right? So the UI basically. The UI will interact with what we call assistants, which kind of act as you can see on the slide here, as a middle manager. So an assistant would have the capability of identifying what are the agents that needs to deal with a particular request via the conversational interface. Then those agents will be activated to start doing stuff, and the agents will benefit from a pool of tools, right? So basically stuff that can happen inside the platform or outside the platform to go and do stuff. And the way that this would kind of work from an IT and ITSM context is basically like what you'll be seeing on the slide here. You'll have a user that would interact with Sophie. Sophie would interact with, say, an IT assistant. Now, the great thing about the platform is you can have multiple types of assistants that can do all sorts of stuff for you. You'll see that as soon as we start engaging with the UI. But an assistant can then have and direct basically multiple different types of agents, right? So an incident agent, reporting agent, a queue agent, and all of these would have access to a palette of tools that they can then initiate to basically go and do stuff for us. So if we look at this from an incident context, this could be the set of tools that an incident agent would then be able to execute whenever directed to by the IT assistant. If we were talking about reporting, that would be a different set of tools. And basically, as you can imagine, once we go to the queue agent, again, there will be a different set of tools that that particular agent can then use. The key thing here is that layered model enables us to add governance to what happens from an automation perspective, so that we can control who can do what based on what type of job do we need to have done, and of course all of that relating all the way back to the user at the end of the day. So that's kind of the agentic stack that are servicing the purpose of the platform really. So what we want to do next here is basically, show you what this looks like. As Jack alluded to, this is a technical preview. So we are looking, of course, to release some of this stuff in one of the upcoming releases. Time frame is pretty much end of August, beginning of September. And then at the end of the day, we'll show you a little bit about how you can leverage the platform to do more stuff for you. With all that said, I'll just stop sharing. And then just come over here and I'll share my screen again shortly. So Jack, can you please confirm that you see a browser?
Yeah, we can see it.
Excellent. So what you're looking at here is the Sophie UI. You can see we're in a Servicely instance. I'm just going to make it a little bigger here. What you'll see is we've got that interface here where we can come in and query the system, right? So let's start out doing some basic information querying. So stuff like who is Sam Herring's manager? And what the system will do, and you'll see that shortly, is starting to execute some of these agents and tools, right? So essentially, we're looking up a username. We can see here that Sam's manager is Dion. We can see that there are various utilities that are being executed, and basically we can take this a bit further onto saying, okay, so we've got the email address, but we would really also like the phone number, right? So I'm just going to punch in. Please give me the phone number as well here, and the system will go ahead and look that up for us. What you can see is we got an assistant here that are being initiated as well, right? So this is being dealt with by an organizational structure assistant that then triggers user data agents, and which have some tools which are essentially the get user tools. So what we want to do next is so that was a basic query for information. So let's start a new one here where we start adding a little more action, right? So in this case, I have an expense claim, and this is to be submitted for the engineering team. And who would approve? Right. So what we're doing here is essentially we're initiating a new request. So we are querying the system. We can see that Dion is the manager for this particular request. And basically what we could do is we could take this even further, right? So Dion would need to approve. So we would also want to understand, is there a catalog item for this? So what the system would then do is trigger by the agent the ability to go and look for a particular catalog item. And in this case, we can see, yes, there is a reimbursement request catalog item available, which I could then click and I can go ahead and submit my request as well. So that's kind of the basic interaction with the system. So here we've gone looking for information. We've gone looking for potential stuff that can help us submit requests towards the organization or delivery organization from a self-service perspective. But what we'll do next is we'll add a little more flavor to this. So we'll come in here and we'll start doing some basic fulfillment tasks, right? So what I can do is I can come in here and then I can ask a simple question. So say I'm a service desk agent. So I'd ask something like, how much work do I have at the minute? And the system will start investigating that for me. You can see that we're looking at what is that potential work. You can also see here that we have the agent workload assistant being triggered by this. And what I could do next is go stuff like help me prioritize this work. And the system will take that context and start analyzing this stuff for me, right? So basically saying, this is the amount of work that I have, and it'll start prioritizing. We can see here that it's basically popping up a few items for me to go ahead and do. So what I'll say is I'll just come up here and probably just copy that incident number that we see here at the top. And then I'll go something like, can you leave a client node or client journal update on that incident, letting the user know we are working on the ticket and will revert. And what the system will do is then basically take my context here and propose an action for us. And then basically what I could do here is just go, yeah, we'd like to put this onto that particular record. So again, another way of starting to kind of interact with the system through the prompting as a service desk agent. And we can take that even further. We can make that even more actionable. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to make another task here. I just need to make sure that I go towards the agent workload assistant. So what I'll do is I'll ask the system to help me create a new incident. And the system will come back here and ask me for a short description. And in this case here, and for you guys not to look at all of the text I'd need to write, I'll just copy in quickly a short description. And what you can see is the system will pick up that conversational lingo and then basically ask me, you know, that it still needs to know who's the requester, what the impact is. So I'd go, I am the requester. I'm the requester, impact and urgency low. So what happens next is, again, the system will pick that up and basically say, now we are creating that particular record. And it couldn't find me, but I am admin. So basically now coming in, having created that particular incident record. So what we can do next here is we can ask the system to go ahead and basically add some subtasks as well, right? So in this case, come in here and say, we've done some initial investigation here. We need to do more. So for that particular incident, we will now create a set of tasks that would then be related to that incident, and they would all be assigned to the database support team. And you can see we now got 3 incident tasks related to that particular incident, right? But maybe we would need to understand something like what would the potential impact be from a network perspective. So we would need to interact with a team that could help us there. So what team could help us resolve any network issues? And the system will then pick that up and basically go and look for a potential team that could help us here. So what about infrastructure support? There's actually a team here, so we can now raise another subtask for that particular team to come in and help us, and basically let them know that we have done a review already. And as you can see, we've now created a subtask for infrastructure to support to go ahead, and the particular task there has been updated as well. So that's kind of how we can take this into the world of fulfilling processes on the backside. Remember, this could be any type process that we've digitalized and run on the platform. We're showing this with incident management, of course, but as you can imagine, this would basically fit any type process that you would want to put on the platform. So just as a final IT related scenario, let's do another chat here. So this one here, we would go towards the SecOps assistant, and what we will do here is we would want to check the WordPress servers for any open vulnerabilities. So we'll fire off this one. And in this case here, what we're doing is we're interacting with the CMDB, and we'll start interacting with change management as well. So what you can see is we're basically outside of the system as well, checking for vulnerabilities for WordPress. So we can see we're picking up specific CVE articles that could relate to stuff that we would need fixing. And in this case here, we would want to then probably create a change request on the backside to go ahead and fix this stuff. So basically, then what we would do is we would want to raise a change request to remediate these issues. And what you can see is what we're doing is we're basically now creating that change request. And we can see that basically it's checking for conflicts. We have already here scheduled for a particular time slot. I could do stuff like, well, please reschedule for tomorrow. And if there would be a change request already in there, the system would come out saying you cannot do that particular change at that particular point in time. So that's basically a lot about the various scenarios that we can do from that perspective. So what we've shown you here is all of the different agents that you see on the list here, how they can assistants, how they can interact with agents, how the agents leverage the different tools to interact with the system. And basically what you might sit and wonder now is, but can we use the interface here to help us configure the system as well? Absolutely. We do have a code assistant on the platform. So what I could do is I could basically take a request for the system to go ahead and build stuff for me, right? So in this case here, what I'm asking is for the Agentic AI piece to help me create a server script that would then generate a record. So basically what I'm doing is I'm creating an AI tool, which subsequently could be used for going ahead and simply just doing stuff for us on the platform. Right, so what you see here is this particular assistant, the code assistant, as you can see running down here, has now generated code for me, which I essentially then could just take and basically copy paste that into a server script in the platform. I could just go ahead and execute that code. And what you'll see is the system would automatically generate a report for me based on that. And literally, I haven't done anything here, but just ask for the code to do a specific job in the platform. So I now have an AI tool here that we could let go at different agents, different assistants. And essentially the only thing I'd need to do on my developer instance here is come in and say, I'd like this to be a bar chart, right? And then just click, and here you go, here's your report. All of that generated from what's coming here. And essentially, we can make that even more advanced. We could let this have a go, say, at providing a complete assistant, build other agents, whatever the case might be. And really, the sky is the limit here. So it's all for you really to sit down and say, what type of work is it that we need to get done on the platform? And then this is a very easy way to build tools, agents, and assistants as well. And you've just seen it live in action, basically. So this is real. It's something that exists. It's just about for us to release it, basically. And with that, I'm going to pause and then stop sharing and then ask if there's been any questions.
Yeah, so if there are questions, please use the Q&A function to get them in. At the moment, we have one question. That's, can the agentic AI be used on existing monitoring data or vulnerabilities to go and log an initial ticket with subtasks to the necessary teams?
Yes, essentially, we just need the AI tool to get into the system, really. And we can do that leveraging APIs as well, of course, to other areas than just NIST, as you saw in the example. But that's pretty straightforward, just to point the agent tool to a different area and then assign it to an agent, which again will be assigned to an assistant. So yeah, as long as we got the data, we can do pretty much everything.
Excellent. So, unless there are any other questions, thank you very much for joining us today. I think, what we wanted to get across is that there's a lot of talk about AI, but very much this is here and now. This is happening, and the possibilities here are endless. Obviously, we come from that IT service management world, but this could be applied to HR, facilities, and you saw, that ability to select different assistants. We have actually just had one more question come in. Is the LLM in-house, or is there a choice to integrate with other LLMs?
The LLM is pretty much your choice. So any LLM you would want to subscribe to, Azure OpenAI itself, AWS Bedrock, Anthropic, whatever we have out there, absolutely. Google Gemini, that's up to your choice, basically, to decide what you'd want to go with.
Excellent. Another question. When will there be a feature that parses incoming incidents for potential major incidents and the same for problem management?
Well, that is a little bit outside of the scope for today, but it's something that we can definitely use agentic AI to handle. Actually, if you reach out to us afterwards, or we can reach out to you, then what we can do is we can demonstrate the current major incident agentic AI demo scenario we have, which is kind of what you're asking for.
Excellent. Another question. Can this be used as some form of persona manager, where when a joiner or mover ticket comes in on the service desk, it can pick the ticket and add them to the various groups, DLs, and permissions they require, maybe progress to close the ticket, like an extra analyst on the service desk focused on joiners, movers, leavers?
Yes, all under that governance where you have that AI assistant that are capable of managing different AI agents. And then, of course, as long as we've got the tools configured in the platform, then absolutely, that's the direction this can take. And all under that governance you would want, so that you don't have AI agents that go rogue, right? So you imagine that at some point you will have a master controller type prompt that kind of says, this is the setting for all of the AI stuff that you're doing, so that you don't have it going rogue, basically. But yeah, absolutely.
Excellent. And a pretty easy one here. Can the tool access information from the internet as well as existing incident details to help solve problems?
Yes. It's all down to AI tools.
Another question relates to LLMs. What about Claude, Sonnet, or Opus? Is this possible as well?
I think we already got Claude in there, but if you have questions in terms of very specific ones, then we'll come back to you on that, and please feel free to reach out as well. But you can configure your own ones as well. Most of the subscriptions out there, especially OpenAI, will support wrapping your preferred LLM in a query there, so we can absolutely support that way around.
Can we use the code generator other than reporting? For example, we would like to create or update a table operation within ServiceLink.
Yes, is the very simple answer to that.
Yes, and we'll be happy to talk to you about how. There was a couple more. When will the risk management module be available? So not necessarily related to this, but a bit different.
That should be upcoming release as well. So end of August, beginning of September.
Excellent. Is there existing data trending capability to carry out proactive and even preventative problem management?
Existing as in the platform today?
existing data trending capability. So I suppose, can we use the data that's in the system to carry out proactive and preventative problem management using AI?
Yes, as well. And we can do some of that stuff today as well, using the current AI prompting capabilities of the platform.
Excellent. I think we got a couple more. Can the tool mask sensitive data in tickets?
We don't do that as we speak, but what we can do is we can configure a script that would do that, but we would want to know what types of sensitive information would be in there. But that's something we should probably have a conversation about offline as well. We don't do red acting, but we can absolutely let's call it encrypt data in fields. But yeah, let's talk about the specific use case.
Excellent. And one more as it stands. Any plans to enable conversational.ai in addition to the Sophie UI?
That's something we would need to check and come back on.
Yep. They keep coming in, which is good. Lots of questions. Does the system cater for user permissions the same way as other operations do?
Yes. That's all been taken into to account, because it will be running as the user that you're currently logged on as. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I think that's it for questions. Like we said, look, we are more than happy to have a follow-on conversation, whether that be a talk about how customers are using Servicely, the sort of outcomes they're getting, a deeper dive into AI and answering some more questions, or whatever it may be. Whether you want the wizard Jens to run you through a more comprehensive look at the platform, we can absolutely do that. One final question that's come in, and then we'll cut it there. When will there be an LLM agent for SSP?
Oh, that's something we would need to check up on with the dev team as well.
Sure. Okay. Again, thank you so much. I'm sure if more questions come to you when you wake up in the middle of the night and you suddenly thought I didn't ask that question on the Servicely webinar, so I'm sure that happens, please send them over to Jens and I will be happy to answer. And like we said, happy to have a follow-on conversation. But I hope you found today thought-provoking, useful, and just an eye-opener as to the kind of opportunities that technology like this brings. And the future is here with Servicely. Thanks very much for your time, and see you soon.